Arvind, a joy to have you with us. And the reason you're joining us is because the slate of products you're unfolding at your annual Think conference. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm feeling like AI is really the focus here. You've got, of course, Watson Orchestrate with AI automating tasks for sales, HR. You've got AI helping people access their customer data. You've got Project CodeNet to speed up business application of AI. For our audience where AI, hybrid cloud, is still buzzwords, how does it change their day-to-day?
Well, Caroline, great question, and thank you for having me here. So if you think about AI, I'll begin with a catchphrase. The same way as electricity helped electrification at the turn of the last century, I believe that AI is going to infuse every enterprise and every process in this century. So now, that said, let's talk about making it real. AI is the only tool we know that can really help unlock insight from all the data we collect. So when we think about improving the service for our own customers, when we think about improving operations inside the enterprise, when we think about maybe COVID-19 vaccinations happening at a rate and pace we've never seen, AI is what helps make all of that happen. So you take CodeNet, a thing I'm really excited about, open source, 500 million lines of code all collected so that we can train AI to help write code itself or programming. Imagine how much productivity that will unlock. Or you think about our auto SQL technology to help gather data from wherever it may reside across public clouds. These are all examples of how AI really comes to life, but really helps unlock and delight end users.
How does it unlock sales revenue for you? How will it speed up your own growth in revenue? Because you've just been bringing to your own stakeholders, well, the fastest revenue growth since 2018. Is that sustained?
So it will get sustained, and I'll come to that in a moment, Caroline. The reason that we return to revenue growth is really a whole lot of work we have done over the last 12 months. We have talked about focusing our business only on hybrid cloud and AI. We have announced the spin of Kyndryl, our managed infrastructure services business. We have increased our organic investment on both R&D and sales. We have also increased our spending on acquisitions, 11 over the last 12 months. And we are beginning to invest in our ecosystem. All that gave us a benefit in the first quarter, and we'll see more and more benefit as we go along and into next year. But if I think about AI, let's unlock a little bit. There is a salesperson. They sit there and they're trying to see what is happening to their client in Salesforce. Maybe an AI can look at that and say, hey, this opportunity is progressing. What should I add into that opportunity to delight the client even more? Who else should I work with inside the enterprise in order to go back? That's where AI really helps augment human intelligence. And I use the word augment, doesn't replace, but takes away the mundane tasks.
Are you exactly where you need to be to unlock this sort of productivity that you speak of? Do you need more acquisitions to be made? You just said you've been spending.
I think that to unlock what I'm talking about, we have what we need. Now it's a question of making sure we have all the expertise and can get it in front of all the clients. At Think today, Karen Lynch, the CEO of CVS, will be speaking with me. She'll talk about how AI is being used to really help the COVID-19 vaccinations. I think they've done like 17 million, 10 million, something like that vaccinations. And AI was really a big part of how they could get to that scale so quickly. And so I believe that we have the right pieces to go do these things. More moonshots, perhaps later, but automating operations and worrying about intelligent client experience, we can do now.
When I'm thinking about my health data, as CVS is using there, when I'm thinking about the US reeling from a cyber attack on its own key infrastructure, just yesterday we learned of this, of course, and over the weekend, Arvind, how, as a man who's focused on security within all of this, important is cybersecurity? How much of a concern is it to you for your customers?
Look, Caroline, I think you and I have spoken. I believe that cybersecurity is the issue of the decade. And when you say why, it's not that hard. If value goes into the cyber infrastructure, criminals, thieves, nation actors are going to come after the cyber infrastructure. So that said, then what do you do about it? One, I think I take a lot of comfort in the fact I think financial institutions, most healthcare institutions do take it quite seriously. However, they're all doing it on their own, and each of them has their own way of doing it. I believe we should have a government program similar to putting a man on the moon at that scale to get a public-private partnership going to really take care of the cyber infrastructure. Otherwise, the physical infrastructure, like we saw in the Colonial Pipeline, may be a victim of what is happening to the cyber infrastructure that controls it.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really believe we should go as a country.
Arvind, we have but 45 seconds left. The business environment for you, for our radio and TV audiences, supply chain, how much of an issue for you as you make chips?
Look, I think that there is a whole supply chain vulnerability. When we think of semiconductors, there is a clear shortage. That's why we invest in things like 2 nanometers. But government needs to lean in also with the CHIPS Act and the National Semiconductor Technology Center. That said, I see spending increasing going forward. So there is going to be pockets around the world, ups and downs, but overall there's optimism in the business environment.